For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Michael, good morning and welcome to the show. Tell us, what's the latest around the world in the world of business?
Thank you very much. Nice to be able to be talking to you. Good morning, everybody. Yes, first of all, I normally deal with Asia Pacific. What we're seeing there is it's mixed as it often is at this time. Investors are actually trying to look through what the Fed intends for interest rates. Again, no big change there, but various voices have been coming out with conflicting messages from the Fed. I won't bore you with the details of that, just to accept that this is what investors are actually doing. They're trying to work out which way they ought to go. Some very surprising news from the Chinese electrical vehicle giant BYD, which is almost saying that automatic cars, i.e. driverless cars, it's probably almost impossible to get there, mainly because of driver concerns and so on, because of legalities, because of who's responsible for a crash and all the rest of it. And what BYD is saying is it would be much better to be giving that kind of technology to the manufacturing process in all industries rather than concentrating on driverless cars. Just thought that was quite an interesting comment from them. Here's something globally which affects everybody, affects 3.6 billion people, a shortage of rice. You won't be surprised about this because of Ukraine. You may not know that the weather in China and also in Pakistan, adverse weather conditions have meant that there is still a shortage there. It's priced in hundredweights for some reason. This is a very arcane price, but anyway, presumably the rice markets know what that is. The price is now $17.30 per hundredweight of rice, and because it's such a staple diet, it's expected that will have a big effect on world economies, and we'll keep an eye on that. As far as the United States is concerned, it's very interesting to see this kind of different view that you get from Bank Goldman Sachs, for example, an investment bank trying to regain some of its retail, trying to reorganize itself, trying to regain some retail business, and Bank of America, which of course is retail. They both make their money in different kinds of ways. It looks like Goldman Sachs have been losing out. Bank of America have been gaining because they make money when interest rates start to go up. They therefore they get more money on the money they loan out, and they give therefore less money to people who actually save with them. Fairly simple. Goldman Sachs depends on fees. Also, very conflicting news out from Netflix. Now, sales down as far as Netflix was concerned, but that didn't come out until after the bell. And after the bell, the shares went down about 10%. Netflix is saying this is business as usual because of the kind of thing that we're doing at the moment. I've told you before about the way in which they're trying to work out what their subscription rates would be, their sharing of subscriptions and so on throughout the world. But at the moment, they're trying to convince Wall Street that everything is okay. A big settlement from Fox News, Murdoch-owned Fox News, to Dominion. To Dominion, there was a problem there with what Fox said. There was some vote rigging, which Dominion had actually taken part in. A big settlement was more or less sorted out on the steps of the courthouse, more or less. But it says a great deal for the way that both these companies are saying that $787 million is a roughly fair payment. Well, I mean, what happens behind closed doors is completely different, but both those companies appear satisfied with that. Dominion says it still has further justice to seek. The EU, let's turn our attention to the EU and its policies on China. Now, Ursula von der Leyen has been talking in Strasbourg to the EC Parliament. What she's been saying is that it would be quite valuable to open up kind of discussion doors with China, but the United States clearly doesn't like that. So basically, what we're seeing here is, and adding to the fact that she and Macron went to see the Chinese premier not that long ago, I think what you're seeing is a slight divergence as far as the EU is concerned from what the US actually wants in terms of relationships with China. But these are big tectonic geopolitical plates acting at the moment. Staying with the EU, and airlines like EasyJet and Ryanair have been saying that, in fact, consumers are going to take to the airways again in 2023. And things at the moment are probably not looking that bad. But certainly the likes of EasyJet and Ryanair are saying that things are roughly okay. We'll see about that. They're quite buoyant anyway about air travel. And also staying with the EU, and Germany has finally shut down the last of its nuclear reactors. It wants to get, and I'm quoting this directly to you, it wants to get to greener energy by 2050. Whether it'll actually get there, I don't know. Very, very difficult to say. It wants to have 80% of its energy provided by wind and solar by 2030. These are enormous targets for Germany to get through. Of course, in the meantime, they'll have to use coal. But I'm sure the rest of Europe will be looking with great interest at that. As far as the UK is concerned, inflation remaining relatively high. 10.1% for March, 10.4% in February. It's all about food inflation. There he is, the Prime Minister, is starting a charm offensive with business. He's very much aware that Labour are trying to do the same kind of thing. And what he's saying to his cabinet is, you've got to think like businesses now. This is the way, this is the kind of relationship that we want to have with business, with power, and also the way the UK needs to go. The UK is also being warned by its Cabinet Office Minister, Oliver Dowden, about cybercrime, particularly growing now. Some of it's easily defensible. The deeper parts of it are not. And that's what the government needs to be engaged in. He's talking to a conference today in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, about cybercrime, and he's warning that what you're seeing there, that could be just a teenager there, but what you're actually seeing is governments now, and obviously naming Russia as one of them, engaging in huge and very, very sophisticated cybercrime attacks. Oil, it's a bit downbeat this morning. I'm not quite sure what the revival in China's economy means for the oil market. And overall European business pessimism as well. Gold, however, still waiting for its day in the sun. It's pointing towards those kind of record levels, and it's actually been quite encouraged by the results on Wall Street. Johnson & Johnson, as I said to you, and Bank of America doing reasonably well. That is the global view this morning.
Thank you very much, Michael. The first thing that jumps at me is some people, pundits in the UK, have said there is a potential somehow of discontent by the union. But with the charm offensive by Rishi Sunak, do you think that he will be successful if it turns out that there are concerns that this could lead to a situation where the union will query what he's doing? And the second thing I wanted to quickly pick before I let you answer is Fox. Do you think that Fox will have problems with their business if it turns out that Donald Trump fails in his bid for election in the coming season? How do you think it will impact on their business? Because they have been strongly in support of Trump over the years during his first tenure. But if he fails in his bid, then it looks like they might have nothing. Yeah, do you get it?
Okay. First of all, let's deal with Fox. Look, I'm not privy to what goes on behind the closed wall. I said to you earlier on that the settlement is being lauded by both sides. Dominion appear to be relatively happy with this. Fox appears to be relatively happy with this. I don't think either of those organisations particularly are. I've read the judgment, I've read people's response to it overnight, and it doesn't make it any clearer for me. However, your question is what will happen if the Fox doesn't get the support from Trump? I don't think it matters an enormous amount to them. I think that news organisations ally themselves to politicians. I think this happens the world over. What I think Fox will probably do, and I am one of the people that when we worked for Sky all those years ago, we helped Fox get on its feet again. It was nothing to do with Trump. He was just a gleam in his mother's eye at that kind of stage. I mean, all we were thinking about then was there is a rise of populism in the United States, which is not being addressed at the moment. Now, you make your own mind up as to whether you feel that's too right wing or something, but at the time, that was the sort of feeling. And I think that Fox will still it still will cater for that kind of audience. But I don't think it's necessarily audience led. I think it's found its feet, and I think it will continue as quite a valuable third force within the broadcast media in the United States. As far as the unions and Rishi Sunak's concerned, well, we have been covering this for the past couple of weeks, but for what it's worth, I'll repeat it, that I feel as though the government is now saying to the rest of the nation, okay, the doctors' strike, for example, 35% increase is untenable. Nobody's going to get a 35% increase. As I was saying yesterday, there is a feeling from Sunak and from his other cabinet ministers, they will let the nursing unions and the health unions decide which way they want to go. As far as the rail strikes are concerned, I think you'll be finding people looking at train drivers and seeing that they earn well above the national average. So what's the complaint about? And are fewer of us travelling on trains? Yes, we are. Why are we? Because A, they run late, and B, because a lot of us are continuing to work from home. So I feel all in all, I feel these discussions, these strikes will probably continue until Christmas at least, but I think the influence on the rest of the country will wane. I think that people are particularly unhappy about the plight of nurses, junior doctors, not quite sure about. I still see that as I hesitate to use this phrase, a Gen Z protest, or Gen Z protest at the moment.
Well, I mean, there's so many other questions to ask you. For example, why is India important to Apple now that Tim Cook is there and is meeting with the Prime Minister today? And as for rice deficit, the good news is that, well, we're told, according to the forecast, that we'll have a better situation in 2024. We look forward to that.